ago when I was on the corporate side and I was doing the hiring and using search firms, I felt that there was sort of a need for a different kind of service. And ultimately, about 11 years ago, my business partner, Mike Harris, in Milwaukee, who was the original founder of Jefferson Wells, I don't know if anybody's heard of that organization, but we came together and said, let's start Novo. So we raised some angel capital in Milwaukee. Milwaukee tends to be kind of an angel town versus a venture capital town. So we were able to raise some angel capital and get Novo started about this fall, actually. This October will be 11 years. So we just celebrated our 10th year anniversary. In any case, Don mentioned that this group is interested in growing your business organically as well as helping other businesses grow. And so because our survey this year was so tied to growth and how the corporate recruiting process ties back to growth of the company, he asked me to share some of our findings. So literally you're the first group that is getting an opportunity to hear these findings. So, all right. Oops, looks like we have a little PowerPoint issue here, but that's all right. So when we looked at, so this is our second annual survey. In 2014, we conducted our first corporate recruiting survey. So we started to see some trends in the marketplace that were different than we had in the past 8 years, and wanted to find out a little bit more about what was going on. And in that survey, we found that there were so few companies that measured quality of their hire. Right? So it was interesting. We found, I think, less than 25% of the companies were measuring quality. How many of you have ever worked in manufacturing or have manufacturing clients? Can you imagine not having quality as a component of your business? Would they be alive today? So that was an interesting finding. So we decided this year to really drill into the quality piece. Let me just ask if the group back there can hear me all right. Can you hear us okay? All right, good. All right, so before I jump into our survey findings, I thought I'd share this statistic. This is Boston Consulting Group. Are you all familiar with BCG?
Yeah.
Okay. So Boston Consulting Group conducted a global survey of 4,300 executives globally, and they focused on just the human capital function. So all the areas from onboarding to training and development, leadership. And I think what they found was a very surprising correlation between growth of a company and delivering on corporate recruiting. Right? So for many organizations, corporate recruiting is considered fairly tactical. Right? So you might have a VP of HR or a chief HR officer, and then somewhere down in the ranks you've got the folks who are doing recruiting. And it tends to be a very tactical function. But what they found is that companies that delivered on recruiting for their organizations performed 3.5 times better on revenue than their peers, and twice as well on operating profits. So I think this is a pretty compelling case.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah,
that's pretty significant.
Actually, yes. Please make sure this is very interactive, and if I use some acronyms in our industry that you don't understand, ask that guy right there.
On the survey, was it in-house recruiting versus outsourcing the function?
Yes.
Was it in-house?
Well, it didn't distinguish.
Didn't distinguish, okay.
Yeah, and so if you're interested, I can send the link out to that survey. It's great. It's really worth reading. So, so what do you think? From a lever standpoint, they measured all the other functions, so training and development, succession planning, onboarding, all the other human capital functions, and they found that delivering on corporate recruiting had the biggest lever for an organization. So it makes sense, right? Because if you don't get the right people on the school bus, then none of the training or development or succession planning is going to matter unless you start with the right people. So we found that interesting, and along with the fact that only 25% of the companies were measuring quality, we wanted to do a deeper dive into this year's survey on quality. All right, so some of the things we're going to cover today, we'll talk a little bit about the financial impact on how a good recruiting process can affect your organization. We will also give you some numbers around the passive candidate pool, and I'll define what that means later. There's a huge disconnect between what's going on with candidates and companies. How many of you have been in the job market in the last 2 years? And what are your thoughts on your experiences with interviewing with companies? So I'm going to ask you that a little bit later, so think about that. As well as some of the strategies and key performance indicators that will help you improve your hiring process. And then I'm going to send you away with some tools, the notebooks that you have in front of you. There's a tool in there that we'll go through, and if we have time, we'll go through an exercise for anybody who's in a hiring mode right now that might want to walk through that process. All right, anything else that you want to make sure that we cover today for your organization or for a client that is struggling with talent?
Do you get, one of the questions I have is, are you specifically dealing with long-term employment or contingent labor?
Long-term employment. Right, so this is just focused on long-term employment.
And is it from entry level all the way up? I mean, is it?
Well, we focus on professional level to
Okay.
executive. However, this survey, we'll talk about that in a minute actually. For the most part, 50% of the respondents were managerial level,
Okay.
actually director level and above. And then there was some big chunk in the managerial level, and then a smaller group of sort of consultants and other individual contributors. But for the most part, our database is going to be professional level and up. So as far as the two surveys that we did one where we addressed the companies. So we asked thousands of companies to respond, and we had 577 respondents. That is up from 312 last year. So we're very happy with that result. On the candidate side, what was interesting is last year, so when we do these things, it takes, and I'm sorry if some of you got these emails over and over and over again, but there's no way, people don't put their names down for us to know who took them, and a lot of people went anonymous. So in any case, on the candidate side, last year, we sent one email out. We got 1,012 responses. This year, we sent emails from right after Christmas. We thought that would be a good time because people tend to think about their careers on Christmas, until, I believe it was like the last week in March, to get 485 responses. So that tells you something about the shift in what's going on in the marketplace with candidates. Whereas and we probably put the same amount of effort on the company side as far as the number of emails out, SurveyMonkey send-outs, and we got 577 versus 312 this year. So you can see that interest on the company side is picking up, and candidates are getting more passive. We'll talk about that a little bit later. The other interesting fact about this year's survey is last year, we probably had 60% HR folks responding to the survey, and this year it was flip-flop, so more non-HR executives